Despite losing a large chunk of its mineral leases, Mesabi Metallics is still promising steel production on the Iron Range. The project at the old Essar site in Nashwauk has been in talks for more than 2 decades, but there's still a long path to making the vision a reality. Northern News Now's Jack Wiedner heard from an Iron Range expert who says the project's complicated history is cause for concern.
Mesabi Metallics says their multi-billion-dollar iron mining and processing facility is near completion. The project broke ground nearly a decade ago.
In 2015, there was a burst of activity that led to the construction of an incomplete plant that anyone driving on Highway 169 can now see, but it wasn't finished.
The DNR owns 2,600 acres of land in the Nashwauk area, and until 2021, Mesabi Metallics was poised to mine that land through mineral leases. But the DNR revoked those leases due to missed financial deadlines, and in 2023, the state awarded those leases to Cleveland Cliffs. Iron Range columnist Aaron Brown says it further complicates Mesabi's already ambitious plans.
All of these different land, ownerships and rights, if you look at the map, it's haphazard. There's squiggles, there's lines, it's all over the place.
Leaders and advocates with Mesabi Metallics visited the state capitol Wednesday. They say they hope to get portions of state mineral leases back, but they claim the project can move forward with or without state land.
We have our own minerals under our control to proceed with our 7 million ton pelletizing facility, and we'll continue to work to bring more iron units into our footprint.
In addition to their pelletization plant, Mesabi Metallics leaders claim they'll add a steel plant in the long term. But with several missed deadlines in their past, Brown says there are no guarantees.
I'm remaining skeptical, and I think most people on the range are too.
For Northern News Now, I'm Jack Wiedner.
Jack, thank you. Now, we also heard from Nashwauk's mayor today. Despite earlier concerns over lost tax revenue over missed deadlines, he says that a new mining operation would revitalize the town and that Mesabi Metallics has his support.